Hey everybody, this is Michael from michaeldrewmusic.com. Today we're going to look at the intro riff for Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. This is a classic. If you play electric guitar and you've never tackled this one, you gotta do it. Today's the day. Grab your instrument, let's break this thing down. So for today's video, I am playing in standard tuning, although it's worth noting that this song is tuned down a half step. So if you want to be authentic, if you want to play along with the recording and match the key of the recording, you'll play it the same way we're going to play it in today's video. Just tune all of your strings down to the flat. So E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B flat, E flat, and then you'll be matching the tuning. Another thing you could do is you could just take everything we learned today and move it down one fret, and then you'll be in the same key as the recording. So the Sweet Child of Mine riff is basically one measure long. It's eighth notes for one measure, even eighth notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then it repeats over and over again with some slight variations that we will look at later. But we're going to start with this one measure pattern. We're going to learn that first, and we're going to split that into two halves. We are going to begin with our first finger on the 12th fret of the D string, and that's the note D. Then we're going to take our pinky, and we're going to play the 15th fret on the B string, which is the octave D. Next, we'll take our third finger and play the 14th fret on the G string. That's the note A. And then our first finger on the same string, 12th fret, that's the note G. Okay, so put those together and we get this. That's the first half of the riff. D, D, A, G. Now, if you watch Slash play this riff, you'll notice that he does not use his pinky. Slash only uses his first, second, and third fingers to play this. Now, he's one of the all-time greats, so I will not tell you that that is wrong. But I think anytime you can get all four fingers going, that's going to be a good way to strengthen them, especially our little finger, our pinky, which is the weakest of the fingers. I would encourage you to use that if you can. For the second part of the riff, we're going to move to the high E string, and we are going to play the 15th fret there. That's going to be the note G, that's the high G. And then we're going to go back to that 14th fret on the G string. It's the note A. And then we're going to play 14 on the high E and 14 on the G. Okay, so it's 15 high E, 14 G, 14 high E, 14 G. So the second half of our riff goes like this. Okay, so the first half again. And the second half. Okay, now put that all together and we get this. So again, I'm using my pinky on the 15th. I am alternate picking, okay? So the fingerings that I'm using is I'm going 1, 4, 3, 1. I like to go 4, 2, 3, 2 there. That is, I think, the most efficient way to play the riff. Now, if you can take that much and get that up to speed and alternate pick it and use the right fingers, you can play this riff. That's the hardest part. Once you can do that, the other changes are pretty straightforward. So let's take a look at these changes now. Here is the chord progression for the vast majority of the song. And you'll notice that the chords change every 2 measures. And the riff on the lead guitar matches those changes. So every 2 measures, what happens is the first note of the riff changes. The rest of the riff stays the same. Okay, so again, like I said, if you can play that first section, you've basically got the whole thing. All you have to do is change your first note every time there's a new chord, and then you're good to go. Okay, so let's take a look at those note changes. So the first pattern that we just learned, that will go twice. You'll play that 2 times in a row. Okay, then what happens? Then our first note changes to E on the 14th fret of the D string. Okay, so we just go 2 frets up. I'm using my second finger there. So that's just like this. Okay, so we're just starting on a different note. Everything else exactly the same. Okay, and then we would do that twice. Then the third pattern is to G. This is going to be the 12th fret on the 3rd string. We've already used this note in the riff, but now we're going to start there. So instead of starting first finger on the D string, it's first finger on the G now. Okay, so now we got this. Okay. And we do that twice. Now you also noticed when we looked at the chord progression that it started and ended on a D chord, right? So the riff does the same thing. That pattern that we started on, two measures of that one starting on the note D, that concludes the final two measures. So we do 2 starting on the D, 2 starting on the E, 2 starting on the G, and then back to 2 starting on the D. Then we start over starting on the D again. So you're going to end up starting on the D 4 times in a row. The last 2 of the progression and then the first 2 of the new progression. Okay, so let's put that all together now. Here's how it sounds. Now, once you can do that, you would do that whole thing 3 times for the entire intro. You would take those 8 measures and play them 3 times. Okay, so we're going to have a total of 24 measures that we would play. And that's the intro to the song. Now, there is one more thing that we have to learn before we know this entire riff. And that would be that the last 2 measures of the intro change. There's a different part that comes in. Okay, so let's take a look at what that part is. To play this ending, we are going to start with our first finger on the 12th fret of the high E string. And then we are going to go to the 14th fret on the G string, that's the note A. Now, every time that we play a high note, we always go back to that A. Okay, so it's going to be high note, A, high note, A, high note, A. So keep that in mind that we're always going back to this note here. Okay, and I'm going to keep that finger planted. All right, so we're going to go 12, 15 on the B string, back to 12, 14 high E, 15, 14, 12, and then 15 on the B. Okay, and with some alternate picking, it'll sound like that. Okay, so if we listen to that, here's our ending.